which come down to 3 drivers separated by only 9 points. Danny Sullivan, Al Unser Jr., and Bobby Rahal. All 3 now don their helmets at Road America for the 12th time this year. Last week, a frustrated Rahal on his home track fell to 3rd in points.
Something that seems so needless. That's what really gets you mad, I guess. And particularly at that stage of the race, and with the conditions being what they were, you expect a little better judgment.
Al Jr. and Sullivan locked helmets early on the rain-slick surface, eliminating themselves from a shot at the win.
At that stage, all I was interested in doing was getting back on the track, getting back through the field as much as possible, and getting back in the point situation.
2 former world champions, Emerson Fittipaldi and Mario Andretti, were then left to battle for the win. And battle they did. Twice, Emo passed Mario in dramatic style to post his first victory of 1988. Unser and Sullivan battled back to a 4th and 5th place finish. Now at Road America, the fight for the BPG Championship continues. ESPN, the world's leader in motorsports coverage, presents Speed World. Today, live from Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, the Briggs & Stratton 200 being brought to you by Briggs & Stratton, proud sponsor of the 1988 U.S. Olympic team. By Quaker State Motor Oil, the big Q stands for quality, always has, always will. By Dodge Cars and Trucks, when it's got to be right, it's got to be a Dodge. By Robert Bosch Corporation, makers of Bosch Platinum, the ultimate spark plug. And by Budweiser, proud sponsor of the 1988 U.S. Olympic team. This Bud's for you. We have just a gorgeous day in central Wisconsin as we welcome you to Road America and the 12th stop on the PPG IndyCar World Series for 1988. I'm Bob Jenkins, and welcome to what should be an interesting afternoon of racing. Not only the race on the track, but of course the race in the points battle. And with me in the booth this afternoon will be Johnny Rutherford. This should be a real knockdown, drag-out affair.
Oh, you said it. I think this is the proverbial shootout at the Road America Corral, as it were, because we've got a situation here where we have 3 cars that are under a blanket for the points lead. Danny Sullivan, Bobby Rahal, and little Al Unser Jr. So these guys are going to be going at it, but we have 8 cars who are going for the championship and have a mathematical chance. So today is going to be worth watching, I can assure you.
And one of those with a mathematical chance is the guy who won last week's race at Mid-Ohio. And for that story, here's Gary Lee in the pit area.
Thank you, Bob. Good afternoon. The top 4 in points have the top positions on the grid, except for outside second row. That is Emerson Fittipaldi. Emma was driving a year-old Lola he is nicknamed Lolita. Obviously, the chemistry is right between these two. He said the courtship is going well. The more he learns about this Lola, the more he likes it. So as the others fight for points in the possible national championship, perhaps Emma would be satisfied for a drive through the countryside with Lolita with a possible stop in Victory Lane. This weekend also marks the return to competition for one driver. With more on that story, here is our colleague in the pit area, Larry Newber.
Well, Gary, I'm standing on 7th place on the grid, and there are actually 2 stories here. First, Kevin Cogan. He returns after 4 races of sitting home, watching it on TV, and celebrating with his brand new little boy who's about a week old right now. And the second story is that this car is first in class, the traditional setup of March Cosworth. And Kevin, you're 7th. Does a March Cosworth still have a chance?
Yeah, I think it does. The car, since we put this new rear suspension on it, is handling pretty well. It's the best I've ever seen it. And they're second in class waving over there. And
jealous Michael Andretti.
Right. I'd like to say hi to Connor, too.
And Kevin, how about your health? The arm is not completely healed. Can you go the distance without pain?
Well, it's hard to say. I think I can. It feels pretty good. It starts to hurt after a while, but I think once you concentrate, it'll probably all go away.
Well, Bob, ironically enough, this may well be Kevin's best chance for a strong finish in 1988.
All right, thank you, Larry. Kevin's best finish of 1988 so far, a 3rd at Long Beach. Road America, indeed a unique racetrack. It is in its 34th year of existence. And with a closer examination, here's our colleague in the booth, Johnny Rutherford.
Let's go on a lap of Road America, 4-mile course, one of the longest in the country. Down the front straightaway, we'll look over the shoulder of Al Unser Jr. from his car camera, heading toward turn number 1, which is a tight right-hander, and it's very quick if your car is working properly. You go to the inside and then back to the outside and down the Goodyear straight, which has turn number 2, which is a very slight right-hander. Shifting gears, then you're back down into a lower gear from the inside of the track out to the edge. A lot of grass out there, so if you get off, you can slide for a long way. Under the bridge leading to the infield, down the back straightaway. This is 2,400 feet long, and you go from sunshine to shade, and it gets a little bit dicey in there.
Now, despite the fact they're on the brakes real hard here, we're going to see a lot of passing in corner number 5, as we did yesterday in the Trans Am race.
Off of turn 5, out to the bump strips. It's uphill here into a blind corner to the left. Around this left-hand turn, a short straightaway into one of the quick corners of the course. Flat out through and into Hurry Downs, it's called. A downhill straightaway heading for the carousel. A left-hander here coming up. Very quick through this corner. Hard acceleration across the bump strips using all of the racetrack into a constant radius right-hander, which is downhill. The car is hanging on for dear life here if it's working properly, and you can run very fast through there. Onto a short straightaway heading for one of the faster turns on the track. It's called the Kink, and it's very fast through there, flat out. A series of left-handers here, very slight, making it almost a straightaway, heading for Canada corner, which is a hard braking corner. Very quick through this turn. Cars can get in trouble here because it is somewhat narrow. Heading up toward the Billy Mitchell Bridge. Under the bridge, flat out, it's a little bit blind. You use all of the road there. A straightaway then heading for turn 14, which is the final turn, coming back out onto the front straightaway, heading toward the pit entrance and under the bridge.
And the Indy cars will go 50 laps around Road America. And we'll be back with more right after this. In Speed World this afternoon at Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. We're located about an hour's drive northwest of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Here is the starting lineup for today's Briggs & Stratton 200. Starting on the pole will be Danny Sullivan with a new track record of 129.070. Danny Sullivan in the number 9 Miller High Life Penske Pete C17, powered by a Chevy engine. The 5th time that he has broken the track record at a track this year. Rick Mears alongside, qualifying at 128.686 in the number 5 Pennzoil Penske Chevy. Going to row number 2, qualifying at 128.661, is Al Unser Jr. from Albuquerque, New Mexico. He'll drive the Team Valvoline March car number 3. To his outside, Emerson Fittipaldi, qualifying at 128.415. The Marlboro Lola, the car number is 20. Then Bobby Rahal in the 3rd row, qualifying at 127.213. He drives the number 1 Budweiser True Sports Lola, powered by the Judd engine. And then Mario Andretti, qualifying at 127.022 in the Amoco Kmart Lola Chevy, car number 6. Starting in 7th position at 126.166 miles an hour is Kevin Kogan in the Schaefer Playboy Fashions March, car number 11. And starting 8th will be Michael Andretti, who qualified at 125.290 in the number 18 Craco Lola. Then in row number 5, it's Didier Tays in car number 22 and Derek Daly in number 10. The 6th row consists of Raul Boisel in number 30 and Roberto Guerrero in car number 4. Then Teo Fabi in number 8 and Scott Atchison in 55, row number 7. The 8th row, John Jones in number 12 and Ari Leyendijk in car number 7. Tony Bettenhausen and Ludwig Heimrath Jr. in cars 16 and 71 are in row number 9. The 10th row, number 21, Hallie Holmes, and 56, Rocky Moran. Going to row number 11, it's Randy Lewis in car number 24, and rookie, yes, rookie on this racetrack, A.J. Foy, car 14. And starting in the last row, number 23, Fulvo Balabio, and number 33, Ed Pym. So there are your 24 starters for this afternoon's 200-miler at Road America. And Johnny, if the in-track description that we had, the in-car, is any indication of the shots we're going to be getting this afternoon, it should be something. We're in Al Unser Jr.'s car.
It really should. There you can see Al was moving his car from side to side, trying to get the tires a little temperature in and some of the buildup that might be picking up off of the racetrack scrubbed off so the tires are perfectly clean. You can see the strap on the side of his helmet. He's got a neck strap.
And we talked about Kevin Cogan driving with the injured arm. Here's a guy that's also injured and driving with some injuries also suffered at Pocono. Ari Lyondike, he was rather disappointed in his qualifying effort, good enough for only 16th starting position, but Ari hopes he can go the entire distance. The problem with Ari is his foot, and he's explained earlier in the weekend that here you want to have the feet working well because of the gear shifts and also the tremendous braking that you have to do at the end of these long straightaways.
Well, you really do. The cars are very physical, and of course you're doing a lot of tap dancing, as it were, on the pedals down there. You've got the throttle, the brake, and the clutch, and you're busy manipulating all three. And when you brake one of these cars, the brake pedal is in the center between the clutch and the throttle, so you kind of lean your foot over to the left and push on the brake pedal with the ball of your foot or the toe of your foot, and you can rock your foot then on the throttle to do what they call heel and towing. And that's to jazz the engine, to get the RPM to kind of pop up whenever you change gears so that it does it a little more cleanly. So with that injury, he's got a problem in being able to negotiate the heel and toe.
We know you watched the Italian Grand Prix earlier this afternoon here on ESPN, and the Ferraris of Berger and Alboreto were declared the winners. However, there is a problem, and they are scrutinizing those cars, the Ferraris, right now, and there could be a change in the outcome of that race that we will keep you updated on throughout the afternoon. The Berger Ferrari may be illegal. And so the engine may be 2 liters too big, and if that's the case, of course, he'll be disqualified, and we'll see what happens later in the afternoon, but we will keep you up to date. Should his car be disqualified, of course, the other Ferrari, and Michele Alboreto, would be the winner. He finished second. Eddie Cheever finished third, and Derek Warwick fourth at the Italian Grand Prix this afternoon in Monza. Our focus of concentration for the next couple of hours, or 2.5 hours, IndyCar racing at Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, as Danny Sullivan and Rick Mears are on the front row with Al Unser Jr. and Emerson Fittipaldi in row number 2. They come off of corner number 14. They'll go up a hill here and head for the start-finish line, and we'll be looking for the green from starter Nick Finaro. We could be green here in just a moment, and the Briggs & Stratton 200 underway. Here they come in front of us, and indeed the green flag is out, and here we go. Scramble for that first turn as they'll jockey for position. We'll see who wins the battle into turn number 1. It's Danny Sullivan, but a good battle for second as Emerson Fittipaldi has come from 4th starting position to go into second as they head for corner number 2 and 3. Fittipaldi running second. Al Unser Jr. has moved up to 3rd. Danny Sullivan is the leader, and Rick Mears, his teammate, has dropped back to 4th after starting second. Now we go inside Al Unser Jr.'s car. And we have some cars off the track in turn number 3. We'll try to get an indication. There is one of them, the number 23 car of Fulvio Balabio from Monte Carlo. That's one of the Dick Simon entries. As you can see, he has slid off course, and the corner workers are trying to assist him and perhaps getting that car going again. Here's a replay.
We get a chance. He's just all by himself there on the inside, and he slid off, spun the car to the left and got into the tire barrier. Obviously, the tire's still a little cold there, and he misjudged a bit, miscued, and lit him up and slid it around, and there he is.
Well, he was running last, but lost it there in turn number 3. The corner workers still working to get that car away from the guardrail, and perhaps Fulvio Balabio can get going once again in this race. Meanwhile, the cars go through the area of the racetrack that we call Thunder Valley, and it appears as if Kevin Cogan is headed for pit road. Indeed he is. So the gentleman that we talked about just a few minutes ago on the grid, Kevin Cogan, as to whether or not he would be able to go the full distance with the arm injury that he has suffered, he's headed for pit road already. Back inside Al Unser Jr.'s car as he runs 3rd in the first lap of this Briggs & Stratton 200. The leader, Danny Sullivan, right ahead of Al Unser Jr. is Emerson Fittipaldi. Here they come around corner number 14 and head up the little hill that will complete lap number 1 of competition.
Well, Sullivan has certainly gotten himself a nice cushion there, but he's got Emerson Fittipaldi in hot pursuit, and of course Al Unser Jr., Rick Mears, and Mario Andretti. That is the top of the heap right there.
Larry Newber, can you update us on what's going on with Kevin Kogan?
Bob, I can. All the attention went to the suspension on the right front of the car, and there are tire marks on Kevin's side pod on the right side of the car. There was nothing wrong with the engine. The engine was firing perfectly. Obviously, somebody got into Kevin. There's been some damage to the suspension, and I really doubt that Kevin can go at full speed for the rest of this race. Very unfortunate, because he was very optimistic.
We'll continue to watch that situation. Meanwhile, we have some trap speeds from a radar that's set up on the course, and Al Unser Jr. was clocked at 175 miles an hour. Danny Sullivan 174, so Al Unser Jr. may have the best straightaway speed here. He continues to run in that third position as Sullivan, Fittipaldi are ahead of him, and Rick Mears and Mario Andretti running in fifth position right now. Mario basically owns this racetrack. He has won 3 times here since 1982. He won in 83, 84, and last year, and led flag to flag last year in this competition. And there is Bobby Rahal in car number 1, who is trying to move back on top of the PPG IndyCar World Series point standings after dropping to 3rd last week in the altercation with Ludwig Heimrath Jr.
That's that fast part of the course, the kink back there. And you can see they come through there without any hesitation. It is very fast, heading up toward Canada Corner. We see Michael Andretti there through, and then Bobby Rahal. It's hard braking, hard accelerating up toward the Mitchell Bridge. So it's one of those situations where you have to have it all together. And of course, Bobby is not going to want to miscue at all today. He's got to move up into that position. There we see he's in 7th place, so he has some ground to make up.
Indeed he does. Bobby Rahal started the race in 5th, so he has lost a couple of positions here in the first 2 laps. Meanwhile, here comes Rick Mears in car number 5, closing in on the 3rd place car of Al Unser Jr. Rick Mears dropped off a little at the start, Johnny. Had lost 2 positions by the time they got to turn number 3.
Well, you know, that's very hard to determine what might have been the problem. I think probably he was giving the cold tires the benefit of the doubt, and maybe not stretching it quite as hard as the others, and that's the way Rick drives. He's very cautious, but he's also very fast and very good, and we'll see him start moving in, making a challenge here, I'm sure, before very long.
Back to Mario Andretti, meanwhile, who is now in that 5th position in the number 6 car, and right behind him is the 6th place car of Michael Andretti, so father and son right here. Mario, the defending champion of this race, in the number 6 car. You know, one thing we haven't talked about that we should mention here before we get into the race too much further is fuel at this race. Now, we have seen some surprise winners in the past, among them Jacques Villeneuve in 1985 and Hector Rabaki in 1982, because the front runners ran out of fuel. Have you heard in your conversations with the drivers this weekend, John, if there might be a fuel problem here at this racetrack?
No, and normally you would. You know, that something like that is, you know, that everybody discusses it and it gets out, and so I have not actually heard anybody talking about fuel problems or anybody saying, boy, I don't know, it's a little close. So it'll be interesting to see if maybe they were hiding those messages from us, and we'll find out as it goes on.
An update on 2 cars. Balabio was able to continue from his spin on the first lap. However, Kevin Kogan has shut down his car in the pits as they continue to work on that machine. We'll be back with more live coverage from Road America in a moment.
Everybody knows.
We are back with coverage of the Briggs & Stratton 200 IndyCar race from Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Danny Sullivan leads. There's the 2nd place car of Emerson Fittipaldi, fresh off his win last week in the rain at Mid-Ohio. Sullivan, you can see, however, has built up a little bit of an advantage here in the first 3 laps of the show. Here we go back now and check on 3rd and 4th. That's Al Unser Jr. and Rick Mears, and those 2 have been running closer together than anyone else in at least the top 6 or 7. Al Unser Jr. in car number 3, and Rick Mears in the yellow number 5 for Roger Penske.
You know, on a long racetrack like this, Bob, you just don't drive up and catch a guy immediately like that. So Rick Mears is nibbling away at the space between he and Al Unser Jr., and that's the way it happens on a long race course, because you have to make it up in 14 turns, a little bit in each turn, and it takes you a while, but he's doing it. He's caught up very quickly, and now we'll see when he gets close if he can handle Al Unser Jr.
And meanwhile, Rick Mears has concerned himself possibly with Mario Andretti, who isn't too far behind him. As as we began this race, the first 6 positions, 5 of the first 6 were from the Chevrolet engine. Bobby Rahal qualified the Judd for 5th, but then all the Chevys, Sullivan, Mears, Allenzer Jr., Emerson Fittipaldi, and Mario Andretti. And as we mentioned at the top of the show, Kevin Kogan was the first in class. He had the fastest Cosworth starting in 7th position. Turn number 5 as they head uphill. The elevation change from the lowest to the highest on this racetrack is 175 feet. And I don't think there's that much elevation change in any other racetrack, at least in this part of the country, maybe out west, but certainly here, a lot of elevation change.
Yes, there is. This is very hilly country, and it's picturesque. It's just absolutely beautiful around this Road America course. But you can't really pay a whole lot of attention to it at speed, if you know what I mean.
Continuing to watch Al Unser Jr. and Rick Mears, 3rd and 4th. Some information on Little Al from Gary Lee.
A couple of observations down here. First of all, the communications from the pit to the car. Rick Gallos, the team owner, has been giving Little Al the interval between 1st and 3rd, the time between the leader and his position. Little Al says, I don't need that. I can see Sullivan. I know how far back I am. Meanwhile, the rest of the crew kind of standing around down here watching a television monitor. They are looking at the pictures being shot from Little Al's car. So really, the crew is riding along with Little Al this afternoon.
And we're watching the shot from Little Al's car also. He carries our Valvoline race cam off of corner number 14, and down the front stretch once again is Al Unser Jr. And there are points, Johnny, that you can't even see the guy ahead of you because of the elevation change.
Oh, yes. There are a lot of blind spots. And, of course, these long straightaways, once you get to the top of the hill, you can see down there and catch a glimpse of whoever you're racing or whoever you're trying to catch. But this is a long racetrack, 4 miles. And if you have a problem going by the pit, you might as well forget it, because if it quits out there in the back somewhere, it takes them a couple of days to find it.
To be specific, Al Unser Jr. is 7 seconds behind Danny Sullivan, the leader, and he's about 4 seconds behind Emerson Fittipaldi. Now, Rick Mears has pulled right up on Al Unser Jr. Perhaps a change of position here as Rick goes for it. Nope. Al Unser beats him to corner number 5. Some close competition there, though.
Rick Mears is going to have to be a little more aggressive than that, I'm afraid, if he's going to get by Al Unser Jr. Al is a tremendous competitor, and so is Rick Mears. So that this will be a race all day, I'm sure.
So Rick Mears, who is normally thought of as a oval specialist, is doing quite well here on the road course at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, running in 4th position at the moment. And we asked Rick, is your style different on a road course than it is driving the ovals? Here's what he had to say.
Well, it is. It has to be. And, that's one of the things that I've had to work at to get used to. Is it takes a little bit different mindset. On an oval, especially a speedway, a large oval, it takes more of a fine line, no mistake, period, type of driving. And to be able to really free a car up and fine-tune a car. Where on a road course, you can hustle a car harder. And you have to hustle a car harder on a road course and get away with it than you do on a speedway. So it's something I've had to work into more so.
Rick Mears, one of those certainly in contention for the PPG Cup. An update on Kevin Kogan. Tie rod has been replaced. He was in the pit for a little over 4 minutes. And apparently the tie rod was broken on that car because of some contact with Derek Daly in the opening laps. The leader of the Briggs & Stratton 200 here at Road America is Danny Sullivan. He has led all the way so far, and we have completed 6 laps of the 50 that will complete this race. We're live, and we'll be back with more of our coverage on this Sunday afternoon after these messages. Johnny Rutherford and Larry Newber back at Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin for the Briggs & Stratton 200, being led by Danny Sullivan in the Miller High Life car number 9. He has led all the way so far. Behind him, we see in 2nd position Emerson Fittipaldi, who was last week's winner. Here he comes. And there is about a 5-second interval between 1st and 2nd position as Emo tries to catch up, going through corner number 5. Emerson Fittipaldi. And behind behind Emerson Fittipaldi. Then in third position is Al Unser Jr. We'll wait for him to come around corner number 6. Here he comes, and there is not only Al Unser Jr., but Rick Mears, and there is Mario Andretti. And then behind Mario, Michael Andretti and Bobby Rahal. And this is the best battle on the track as Bobby Rahal tries to position himself around Michael Andretti. Andretti, of course, with the Cosworth and Bobby Rahal in the Judd engine. Now, an interesting shot here because it is Bobby Rahal in the red car number 1 that will be moving to the Craco team that Michael Andretti drives for next year. As to who will take over the True Sports ride, Bobby Rahal's ride right now, well, there's a lot of speculation on that, and nobody knows for sure. The top candidates, of course, at this time are Scott Pruitt and Jeff Brabham. But as I said, it'll be a few more days and perhaps a few more weeks before we'll know exactly who has that True Sports ride for 1989. Speculation, John, who do you think?
Well, it's very hard to say. I've heard that Jeff Brabham, because of his prowess in the IMSA car this year and winning all of the IMSA races in a row, as he's in line for that job. But Steve Horn's not saying at this point. He's pretty mum about it, and I think that's rightfully so. They've got a season to finish. Rahal's doing a tremendous job fighting for the point. Here he goes trying to make a pass, but he didn't have the momentum to try to carry by. He was going to try to pick up a little slingshot there, and it just really is tough. Yeah, I think he's pushing and seeing how far he can go. Like I said, on a long racetrack like this, it's very painful, and it takes a lot of patience to be able to use those 14 turns to gain a fraction of a second and make it all come out to where you get the guy in the right place at the end of the front straightaway or at the end of the back straightaway, the two favorite places to pass here, and get a chance to set him up to pass. So he's doing a job getting right up in there, and if Michael slips, Bobby's got him.
He is all over Michael Andretti at the moment as they move through corner number 6. Of course, the other driver that is mentioned as the True Sports competitor next year, Scott Pruitt, was very impressive yesterday as he led and won the Trans Am race that we'll have for you on ESPN at a later date. Scott Pruitt, the winner of that event yesterday here at Road America. And in the pit area is Didier Tays in car number 22, as he was another one of those who had great hopes going into this race because he qualified 9th fastest, and apparently he is suffering from a gearbox problem as the crew works on that car and Didier sits in the pits. Back to this battle for 3rd position, and they still continue to run in the same order, Al Unser Jr. and Rick Mears, but they're still right together, hooked together on the racetrack as they come downhill, headed for corner number 14 once again.
I'd say that's an even matchup right there. You've got two Chevrolet cars, and one is able to gain a little bit, and then the other one is able to pull away some. So that's pretty close. There you can see how the cars kind of dance down the hill. They kind of weave and bob, and that's the front tires with all of that camber. You can see how they're tipped in at the top. The cars want to hunt every little groove, every little bump in the track, and they weave, and you've got to really pay attention to keep that car straight and going where you want it to down these long straightaways.
It looks like when they come down to the start-finish line from corner number 15, there's quite an elevation change. It looks like a roller coaster, like it would almost take your breath away as you went up that hill.
Well, it is, and there are about 3 places that are blind here where you really cannot see around the turn to know what's there. And until you know the course and have it comfortably in your mind and know that you've got to be this place in order to come out at this place on the other side, it can be a bit dicey, a bit touchy.
Unser Jr., running in 3rd, has more wins than anyone else in IndyCar competition. He has won 3 times this year. He has won at Long Beach. He has won at Toronto. He has won at the Meadowlands. And we go back now and check on Michael Andretti and Bobby Rahal as they continue to hold down the 6th and 7th position. They're about 18 seconds behind the leader of the race, Danny Sullivan. And we understand that Roberto Guerrero is having some problems on the racetrack in car number 4. That car is slowed definitely, and some damage at the front end of that race car. So Roberto Guerrero is certainly off song, and this is how it occurred. That's Ari Lyondike to his outside. Oh, they touch as Ari tried to move ahead of Roberto and may have bumped and suffered some nose damage there on the number 4 car of Roberto Guerrero. So he slowed down just a little bit, but Ari Leyendyk is doing a fine job in moving up through the field, and he is shown right now in 10th position.
He had a little bit of a tire mark on the nose, but the wings are still intact, and they're holding the same position. So here we see Al Unser Jr. Going, trying to go by somebody there, and it didn't quite work. So he's working. You can see the tab blowing in the breeze on the side of his helmet there. That's a tear-off. He's going by... there he's getting set up. Here's the pass, and Mears is right on his tail, going to try to break him into the turn 5, and he did.
Yes.
He's got him. That's it.
That's exactly where Rick tried to get him a few laps ago, and he was unable to, but that time Mears did it just right and got by.
There's a tremendous shot there. Very close racing. You can see that he gets a little acceleration off of that corner and through into hurry downs, they call it, down. So Rick Mears has got it at this point.
And that car that went around Little Al a few minutes ago, and like he was sitting still, believe it or not, was Fulvio Villavio in car number 23. Gary Lee is in the pit area as we see Roberto Guerrero is also there.
Well, at first, our attention was diverted to the nose. There's a lot of black smudging where obviously got into somebody's tire. Then we saw the crew removing the rear engine cover. There's obviously a problem. Vince Granatelli, the team owner, what is the problem?
It looks like we broke a exhaust header on the left-hand side of the car.
What's with the black up here in front? Who'd he get into?
I didn't get any report on it. I don't know. Obviously, our concern right now is with the motor, and we broke a header, and then obviously with the header broken, we can't get any boost, so that's it for us for the day, unfortunately, for the SVP car.
The contact being with Leyendyk, a very frustrating day for Roberto Guerrero.
Guerrero himself has battled back amazingly from the incidents that have occurred in the late part of last year and the early part of this year, but it just seems like that the car won't hold up under him. So Roberto Guerrero drops out of competition. Danny Sullivan continues to lead at Road America. IndyCar racing this afternoon live here on ESPN from Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. We're watching Michael Andretti and Bobby Rahal battling for the 6th position. Roberto Guerrero has dropped out of the race. Here's Gary Lee.
Roberto, what's the old saying? If it weren't for bad luck, you'd have no luck at all. Another frustrating day this.
Yeah, it just seems this year nothing is going right for us, but you know, the whole STP crew did a good job. You know, we tried very hard, and we're trying to conserve fuel. I think everybody's going to have a little bit of a fuel problem, at least the Cosworths anyway. And it was, you know, it wasn't feeling too bad. We were just taking it easy, and then we broke the exhaust system.
Let's talk about that contact out there.
Well, I mean, Ari Leyendyk came by and passed me, and he just went to his line too quickly. He just, you know, with his right wheel, he took my front wing. So, you know, I was just staying there, and he came past me, and he just closed in too soon.
Well, speaking of passing, there's more passing going on the racetrack, Bob.
Yes, there is, Gary, as Bobby Rahal has moved around Michael Andretti and goes into 6th position. We'll replay it and show you how it occurred.
Coming down the long front straightaway, heading toward turn number 1, Bobby had the opportunity to get up beside him, took over that position, moved in front of him, holds the line, and makes the pass on Michael Andretti.
So from what Roberto Guerrero told us, there may be a fuel problem here that we will keep an eye on as the race progresses. We're 12 laps into this event, and we should perhaps expect some pit stops around lap number 20, at least by lap number 20.
Yeah, I don't know how many of the Chevrolets are using the fuel management system, but some of them do, some of them don't. And this situation where, you know, we'll have to watch that and see.
Watching Ari Leyendyk as he has now moved into 8th position, passing Raul Boisel. So that sore foot is not bothering Ari at all, it seems, as he is moving up through the traffic. He started this race in 16th position. As I said, he is now up to 8th.
He's doing a marvelous job, and like I say, that foot's obviously not bothering him. He's running extremely quick, and he made a pass on Raul and just like he's driving on away.
I guess that the mind does take over when you're in a race, and you really, I guess, maybe don't even feel the pain when things are going well for you.
sometimes if you're able to get out there, I think, and race and do the thing, whether you have a bad foot or a bad hand or something like that, you're right. You concentrate so intensely on what you're doing in the job that you don't even notice the pain operating, and there's really nothing you can do about it. It seems like once it starts, you just, there's a situation where you can't do anything about it. It's got momentum going downhill, and all you can wait to do is wait till it gets to the bottom of the hill and stops, and then you can pick up the pieces and start all over again.
On the top of the mountain right now, so to speak, is Danny Sullivan in the number 9 Miller High Life car as he leads the Briggs & Stratton 200 with about a 7-second advantage now on Emerson Fittipaldi. Rick Mears is third, about 12 1/4 seconds behind. 13 laps have been completed here, and boy, it's been a Danny Sullivan race so far. We'll continue our live coverage after these messages.
Indy race car goes over 200 miles.
Danny Sullivan continues to lead here at Road America. He's working some of the slower race traffic, and the indication is that he will be coming in for his first pit stop of the afternoon. That's A.J. Foyt right ahead of him, and it appears as if Foyt, yes, also will make a pit stop. But the leader, Danny Sullivan, is coming in for his first pit stop of the afternoon. In fact, several are. As Foyt is slowing down, it appears. Danny Sullivan, now Foyt peels off and goes to his pit, and here comes Danny Sullivan. Let's go to Larry Newber for a call of this stop.
Here comes a very anxious Danny, and of course the other problem here at Road America, as little Al Unser also pits, is you're coming uphill when you come into the pit area. So when someone slows you down, you really lose a lot of extra time. Now, it was a 4-tire change on Danny. They filled the tanks with the 40 gallons of methanol alcohol. Danny Sullivan is out. Little Al Unser is exiting. All the leaders seem to be coming in and getting out without any incident.
Pit road, picking up some momentum. Here he comes back out onto the racetrack. So pit stops have occurred on lap number 15.
The pits are so tight here, so very tight, that you have those situations where you want to get out or you want to get in, and somebody's invariably in your way. And it just, that's just the way it is.
So Emerson Fittipaldi now takes over the lead. As the Danny Sullivan stop has been completed, Emerson Fittipaldi will be needing a fuel stop before too long, and so we'll watch for that. But at the moment, Emerson Fittipaldi leads this race. He should be coming in, we understand, this coming lap. And when he does commit, Larry Newber will be right there to describe it for us. He's down through Thunder Valley now, once again, with trees on both sides of the racetrack, headed for Canada Corner, corner number 12 out of 14 on this course. Negotiating it nicely, swinging the car out to the left side of the racetrack, and now going under the Billy Mitchell Bridge. And now he's setting up for corner number 14. If he is going to come into the pits, we'll get an indication here in just a second as he'll drop the car to the inside. And yes, indeed, he is. Going into the pits comes Emerson Fittipaldi. Will throw it to Larry Newber as Emo's on his way, Larry.
Well, here comes the winner from Mid-Ohio of last week. Of course, Emo really likes these, what he calls legitimate road courses. He comes to a stop a little more casual than what Danny Sullivan. Emma was a little more on top of the situation, but Danny had that extra motion coming down pit road, of course, trying to follow A.J. No change of rubber on the right side for Emo. A little bit of delay for the extra fuel going in, but it's very important as Emo gets out in 16.5 seconds. Rick Mears, who has been among the leaders all day, has stalled out on the course. We're about to say that it's so important to get all the methanol that you possibly can get in the cars, particularly here on this course, because it's so far around, Bob.
Well, I'll tell you what, the guy that Johnny and I were talking about being very impressive, just biding his time, he has apparently run out of fuel, and this isn't the place to do it.
No, it is very, very frustrating. Of course, here he can get, if he can get a tow from the, he's in a precarious position, so they will try to tow him out of the way there, and it's not very far around that turn to where he can be picked up, but he's losing so much valuable time. That's really exasperating, and those things happen.
This can pretty much spell the race as far as a win for Rick Mears, and certainly he'll want to get back out there to get as many points as he can. But it's incidents like this, Johnny, that can determine a winner of the race. Not only that, but those points that he's losing sitting there could be the championship.
Yes.
As we can see now, Al Unser Jr. passing Mario Andretti. as the field gets backed up to full speed after their pit stops. And they occurred on lap number 15, and that might indicate, Johnny, that they will come in 3 times. We had anticipated perhaps 2, but maybe they'll need 3 stops.
It may be a squeaker. You know, well, there was no indication earlier, but Roberto Guerrero alluded to the fact that the Cosworths were having some fuel problems, and it'll be interesting to see just exactly what comes down here. That might have been a normal pit stop time, but there we saw Rick Mears that he ran out, and how close was it for Sullivan or for Emo or for some of the others? So we'll have to watch this very closely.
Well, Roberto Guerrero talked about the fuel consumption in the Cosworth. Now, how about a comment on the fuel consumption from the Chevy with Allenzer Jr., Gary?
And there may be a problem. We were talking to the crew chief, Owen Snyder. He said, we're coming in on lap 16. However, the fuel light in the cockpit came on. And Johnny Rutherford, as you will attest, at this racetrack, you don't argue with the fuel light. You don't second guess it. You stop immediately. So they made us stop a lap early. That means 4 miles earlier than they had planned. It may be very, very close with that Chevrolet power plant, despite the fact they say that during weekend fuel tests, they were getting over 2 miles per gallon. There may be a problem, though, with the Chevrolet.
We are seeing some great dicing on the course. Here's Mario Andretti sneaking to the inside of Allenzer Jr. and taking away 3rd position from Little Al. So Mario, who has won here on 3 different occasions, is beginning to show his muscle. He moves to 3rd. The leader of the race, Emerson Fittipaldi, Danny Sullivan 2nd.
Yes, and he hasn't wasted any time in pulling out just a little bit of a margin there for comfort. So we'll see if Al can do anything with him here in turn 5. Well, he's trying to get down to the inside now. He just doesn't have enough room, or he's not close enough to try to make the pass. But that was classic. Mario pulled out twice to try to go by him down the front straightaway here, and just didn't have the momentum. He made the last-ditch effort, and it was enough to get him by.
And we also see in the shot the red car, and that's Bobby Rahal, who was running in 5th. So they came out of their pit area after their stops very, very close together on the racetrack. There is Rahal, who's now in 5th position in the number 1 Budweiser car.
So going through the carousel portion of the course, which is a very fast right-hander downhill, heading for that kink, which is a flat-out kink. You can't see around that corner, even from up in our camera position. You can't see around that corner, so it gets very, very close. Boy, they're getting close down there on the racetrack, too, trying to make a pass.
Mario trying to lap one of the slower cars. That's the number 21 machine of Howdy Holmes that is right ahead of Mario and Little Al. And they just go by the portion of the racetrack there where Rick Mears ran out of fuel. We'll watch what happens in front of Allenzer Jr. Howdy a little bit squirrely there, going to the outside of the racetrack and allowing Mario to get by.
I'm not sure he was expecting Mario right at that point, but Mario made the pass, and here comes Allenzer Jr. and Bobby Rahal. So this is a 3-way tussle.
3rd, 4th, and 5th. Mario, Little Al, and Bobby Rahal are hooked up in a terrific duel. Well, how about fuel consumption with the Judd engine on this kind of track? Bobby Rahal.
I don't think we have a fuel consumption advantage over the Chevrolets. I thought, yes, last year the Judd did, but this year things have changed, and obviously Chevrolet's fuel management system is much better. Judd's is very good. So whatever advantage there may have been, I think is gone. It's hard for everybody to make fuel on this course, and it's that simple.
Well, Bobby Rahal is knocking on the back wing of Allenzer Jr. here as he tries to take over the 5th spot. We will update you on the Rick Mears situation. He did indeed run out of fuel and is coming through the cutoff area that connects turns 5 and 14, as there is Emerson Fittipaldi and Danny Sullivan, and this is a battle for the lead indeed. Rick Mears can re-enter the pits that way, but they will not score the lap. Now, Danny Sullivan hooked right on the back wing of Emerson Fittipaldi. Let's see if Danny can take over the lead from Emo here. Not this time, as they go through Canada Corner once again, and now begin to head downhill.
That was a classic block by Emerson Fittipaldi. He was in the middle of the track, and there was nowhere for Sullivan to go by on either side. So this is a situation where we're going to see some heads-up driving.
Well, Larry Newber, you've been down in the pit area and asking various teams, how about this fuel consumption? Could it be a problem?
Bob, it's very interesting. Yes, it could be a problem. You know, it's funny. Every year we come here, few people really talk publicly about fuel until the race, and it seems like it's always a major factor. First of all, comment from Chuck Sprague. I said, hey, Chuck, you guys came in. It seemed like it was a lap early. He said, yeah, it was a very conservative move. I said, why so conservative? He said, coming in a lap early is better than where's Rick sitting right now. The point is well made. So then I asked Roger Penske. I said, Roger, who made that call for Rick to stay out that 1 or 1.5 extra laps after you saw Danny came in? You know, Roger's usually the master strategist. He looked me right in the eye and kind of shrugged his shoulder, looked very stern and said, my call.
Well, it has to come from someone, and so therefore someone has to take the blame. We're at Road America at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, and the leader is Emerson Fittipaldi. We'll be right back.
It's week 2 in the NFL. Some of the game.
The Briggs & Stratton 200 IndyCar race continues from Road America, and Emerson Fittipaldi now has a car between himself and second place Danny Sullivan. That is Rick Mears that is being pushed into his pit area after running out of fuel in corner number 12, and it certainly spelled disaster for Rick Mears, who is one of those in contention for the PPG Cup and the IndyCar point standings.
That is exasperating to run out. I did that a year or so ago here over on the, just after coming through the kink, my car faltered and quit, and they would not pull me in, and that's even more exasperating.
Now Danny Sullivan begins to close in just a little bit on Emerson Fittipaldi, with the advantage shown as about 3.5 to 4 seconds for Danny. Well, Larry Nuber is in the pit area with this report. Here's Larry.
Well, of course, all the IndyCar guys wear full-face helmets, but you could see the long face on Rick Mears as he rolled silently up here to a spot in the pits. They're changing the tires on all 4 sides. They're going to restart the engine. Of course, it's been shut down for about 5 minutes. It should start relatively easy after that long break. Roger and Rick are now talking to each other on the radio. You know, all the IndyCars, as the engine fires up, have red fuel warning lights on the dashboard. But many times those lights are good for only about 2, maybe 2.5 miles. Well, it's 4 miles around Road America, which means that if that light comes on, you really can't risk driving past the pits one more time. You're going to come in on that lap. Now, we had no indication, I repeat, no indication that Rick's warning lights came on during his problem out on course.
So Rick Mears does make his way out of the pit area and back out onto the racetrack, but he is several laps behind. And here is Emerson Fittipaldi, the leader, being pursued and stalked by Danny Sullivan. Emerson Fittipaldi went into the lead when they all came in for their first series of pit stops, and Emerson was able to get out in the lead and retain it. And so Danny Sullivan, who led first, is now in second.
You know, Danny Sullivan has come into a situation here with this Rick Mears development. I would think at this point he's probably gotten instructions to start short shifting the car, which is nothing more than not carrying it to the full RPM, taking it out to 11,000 or 11.5 or even more, as the Chevrolet would take. So he's short shifting the car, conserving fuel. He has probably turned down the manifold pressure, turned the boost down, and going to conserve a little bit and try to make the next pit stop on a given point. If he can do that, then they know what they can do to make a charge toward the end. That's why he's, that would be my guess as to why he is not really pulling back up and working over Emerson Fittipaldi, who has the lead at this point. So it's still the middle stages of the race, a long way to go. I would think it'll be bear watching Sullivan to see if the strategy pays off for him.
Well, teammate Rick Mears did lose 5 laps when he had the costly running out of fuel. And Larry Nuber is down in the pit area with more on the story that Johnny's talking about.
Well, Bob, we're going to take the opportunity to talk to Chuck Sprague here and ask him, have you and Danny had a conversation about fuel-conserving measures? I saw Roger over here talking to you.
Yeah, we're not bad in terms of overall mileage. It's the timing on the pit stops that hurt us a bit. But we're trying to build a little cushion mileage-wise by using Emerson's draft and driving conservatively. I mean, it's pretty obvious what's happening right now. And just trying to hope to get ourselves back onto a schedule where we're not going to have to stretch one of these sessions too far.
short shifting and the turbo turn, or the boost rather, turned down?
Yes.
And does it look like you're going to have to make 3 stops? Can you do this on 2?
It's going to be close. It's sort of a plus or minus. Fuel lights aren't consistent. The mileage is never exactly the same 2 sections in a row. We're just going to have to depend on the light and see what happens. We're not sure yet ourselves.
Well, the head as well as the right foot may determine the winner of today's race.
Great battle on the racetrack, Larry, for 4th position. Bobby Rahal and Al Unser Jr. are hooked up in a terrific duel. They're working some of the slower traffic, and that means some great pictures from the in-car. And we'll go back to show you how Bobby Rahal did pass Little Al for 4th.
There, he just out-braked him into turn number 5. It was that classic move again on the inside. If you can get up beside the guy and make the pass, get down all the way, then you've got it made. And otherwise, you're going to have a tie, and he can close the door on you.
We'd like to mention that Davey Allison has won the NASCAR race this afternoon at Richmond Fairgrounds. Dale Earnhardt finishing in 2nd position, followed by Terry Labonte, Mark Martin, and Alan Kulwicki. Dale moves to 2nd in the point standings as Rusty Wallace, who was 2nd in points, had trouble all afternoon. So Bill Elliott still leads the points. Dale Earnhardt now in 2nd, and Rusty Wallace is 3rd. Davey Allison, the winner this afternoon at Richmond. Here this afternoon, we've got some great IndyCar racing as Emerson Fittipaldi and Danny Sullivan are running right together in the racetrack in 1st and 2nd position. Back in 3rd is the number 6 car of Mario Andretti. 4th is Bobby Rahal, and 5th is Al Unser Jr. as we have completed 23 laps. So we are very close to the halfway point of this 50-lap event on the 4 miles of Road America they call 4 miles of fun. We'll take another break and be right back for more at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin for IndyCar racing on this Sunday afternoon as Emerson Fittipaldi in the red and white car number 20 Marlboro sponsorship leads the Miller High Life car driven by Danny Sullivan, car number 9. But that's how close they are. We've had a car go off course. That is Ludwig Heimrath Jr. This wasn't a spin or a contact with the tire barrier. He just pulled the car off course when a lot of smoke was seen coming from the engine compartment. So Ludwig Heimrath Jr. appears to be out of competition.
Looks like he might have had a turbo seal go out on him and dump a lot of oil into that turbocharger, which makes him smoke like that.
And another driver that has pulled off course and is being towed back to the pit area is Ari Leyendyk. So we saw Ari moving up steadily in the first half of the race, but now he is off course and is being towed back to the pit area. Here now is a 3-car battle for 3rd position. Mario Andretti at number 6, Bobby Rahal at number 1, and the in-car camera with Al Unser Jr.
Yeah, this is going to be another gunfight. We can see they've caught up to Mario, so obviously he's having some problems of some type, maybe some handling. It's hard to say. This big old racetrack, your car can change on you so many times during the course of the event. You have to work the roll bars and change things to make the car feel like it's doing the job that you want it to do for you. And it can be exasperating sometimes when you run out of adjustment.
We understand the problem with Ari Leyendyk is an ignition problem. Now, of the top 5 at this moment, 4 of them are Chevys, and then Bobby Rahal with the Judd engine. The Chevy apparently will be made available to one more team in 1989. As to who that team will be, well, again, there's a lot of speculation. A.J. Foyt is certainly a contender because not only of his race driving ability, but because he owns a huge Chevrolet dealership. And another one in contention is the Craco team, and that's the one, of course, that Bobby Rahal will be driving for in 1989. Ari Leyendyk, as we indicated, with an ignition problem, they're pulling the car into the pit area. Gary Lee is right there.
Well, apparently there was also a problem with the radio communications. We were talking to car owner Dick Simon. He said, I'm trying to talk to Ari to find out what the problem is. I don't know. He is not responding. So you say it is the electrics of this car. And that is so unfortunate because they were getting excellent fuel mileage. They had planned on cranking up the mixture just a bit, richening up the fuel mixture because they could get more horsepower that way. They were getting good fuel mileage. Now, as far as driving injured. We have documented the fact that he's driving with a special brace on the ankle. He said his feet are killing him, but he's staying out. Now, during the weekend, he told us, as long as I'm racing, I'm not thinking about the pain. But right now, he has a chance, while parked in the pit area, to think about the pain. So the spark box is being changed. A very costly pit stop for Ari Lyondike.
Seeing some great racing here. 3rd, 4th, and 5th. It's Mario Andretti, Bobby Rahal, and Al Unser Jr. Now, these guys are about 17 seconds behind the first two, namely Emerson Fittipaldi and Danny Sullivan. So this is a race on their own for that second spot.
Rahal is putting a great deal of pressure on Mario. He tried to pass him in turn number 5, but Mario had the classic center of the road lock on him, and he couldn't get by. So there are a couple of places coming up where he might try to make a chance. We're noticing a light flashing on Al Unser Jr.'s instrument panel, and I don't know whether that's the fuel light, and it might be giving him an indication, or exactly what that is. We'll have to maybe get one of the guys in the pits to find out for us.
Well, if they pitted on lap number 14, this is lap number 26, so it may be an indication that at least the fuel is getting to a relatively low spot as we continue to watch Bobby Rahal right up on the rear wing of Mario Andretti as they come uphill and cross the start-finish line to complete lap number 26. Let's see what Rahal does. Last time here, he at least looked to the inside. Let's see what happens. He does the same thing. Let's see if he can beat Mario to turn number 1. It looks like he has the pass completed already. Yes, he did.
Yes, he made that move. Got to go to the inside like that. Mario was trying to crowd the issue a little bit and stay in the way, but Rahal is moving. I can tell you, he's been all over Mario for about 2 or 3 laps, and I think we won't watch him waste any time in pulling away from the other two here.
Meanwhile, Al Unser Jr. watches from behind Mario Andretti as he watches Mario and Bobby Rahal battle it out, and now little Al is ready to make a pass, and into turn number 5 he does have the spot. So Mario Andretti drops from 3rd to 5th here in just a matter of seconds.
I don't think Mario was quite ready for that, because he tried to come in and close the door. Here's Rahal's pass. We'll watch him here tucked very tightly up in. Makes a move to the outside, or the inside as it were, of the racetrack, pushing right down, taking it in as deep as he dare, braking very hard, getting the proper gear selected, sliding out to the edge of the road, and he's made a pass. That was a classic. Very, very good.
It sure was. Meanwhile, Emerson Fittipaldi is hanging on to the lead, and he has lengthened his advantage now just a little bit on Danny Sullivan as the interval is about 2 seconds. Well, we've reached the halfway point of this event, and our mid-race recap indicates that Emerson Fittipaldi was the leader at the halfway point. He started in 4th position and led 10 of the 25 laps at an average speed of 122.67 miles an hour, and he pitted on lap number 17. There have been no overall cautions, 2 lead changers and 2 leaders. There are 10 cars on the lead lap, 24 started and 20 remain in competition. Those out of the race: Didier Tays, Roberto Guerrero, Kevin Kogan, and Ludwig Heimrath Jr. We'll be back with more of our live coverage in just a moment.
Quaker State.
Back to IndyCar racing as Emerson Fittipaldi leads Danny Sullivan at a little past the halfway point of this 200-mile event at Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. There are the first two, Emerson Fittipaldi and Danny Sullivan, separated by the slower car of Randy Lewis. Back, however, about 17 seconds behind these guys. Some really good dicing has been going on all afternoon. Al Unser Jr. among those involved in the battle. As you can see, it's opened up just a little bit as Little Al is in that 4th position. That red light that's flashing on and off in the cockpit, Gary Lee, what is that?
Well, that is the fuel sensor, but first of all, for Al Jr. fans, don't worry. The crew is not concerned. That is very, very common. There is a sensor in there. Well, the sensor light is actually activated by the fuel sloshing back and forth on a rough racetrack or through the turns. They say when the light goes on and stays on, there will be about 2 gallons left, enough to come around and make the stop on that lap. They plan to nurse at least 4 more laps before the stop, but everything apparently is copacetic in car number 3.
You could see how when he brakes very hard, watch coming up on this turn here, he brakes, the light comes on and stays on. That's because he's sloshing all of the fuel to the front of the tank and it's going away from that sensor. There you see it's covering up the sensor. The light comes on only when you put it in a G-force situation around that hard turn. Here, when he gets on the straightaway and it settles down, there he's got a solid light. But now you'll see it blinking and starting to go out. When he gets on a straight where it settles down, the light will go out. And when he comes on solid, you better be headed for the pits.
Well, let's ride with Al Unser Jr. here for a while, and not only watch, but listen to the sound of the car. Tachometer is what you're seeing there near the right hand of Al Unser Jr. It's interesting to watch the tachometer and the RPMs go up and down. Passing the Porsche, Teo Fabi right here.
Yes, Teo was off course a little bit. Hard braking into that turn number 5. We'll just hush and let you watch.
There is the leader once again, Emerson Fittipaldi and Danny Sullivan, and we've got to start thinking at this point about the second round of pit stops. We understand that Danny Sullivan may be coming in a couple of more laps, and Emerson Fittipaldi also has to be thinking about stop 2.
Danny has caught up a little bit, so maybe Emerson's starting to think about that conservatism. He's going to want to conserve a little fuel himself, and they probably told him, take it easy. You've got the lead. Sullivan's not going to press, so this is going to be interesting to watch.
And again, there is about a 14-second separation between these two guys, and Bobby Rahal, who is third, Al Unser Jr. and Mario Andretti. So here they come through corner number 14 once again. And I don't think we're going to see a pit stop on this lap. Nope, both of them stay to the outside of the track. And so lap number 30 is in the books.
Well, obviously, Sullivan hasn't had a fuel light or any indication to him that might be time for him to start really seriously considering a stop. But then sometimes those things don't work, so it's exasperating.
Yeah, I would think that you really have to think about whether or not you're getting an absolutely accurate reading from those lights. Maybe that was the reason that Rick Mears had the problem. The light wasn't working properly for him. But in any case, Rick did run out of fuel and lost 5 laps. But teammate Danny Sullivan and Emerson Fittipaldi are right together in the battle for that top spot. They move through turn number 5. Now begin the climb uphill under the Nissan bridge, with Fittipaldi still holding just a very slight advantage on Danny Sullivan.
Danny's not pushing it real hard, but this, like I say, they've got to be thinking about the duration. It's the length of the race and the fuel saving, short shifting, and turning the boost down. So here's 2 cars that are very equally matched going for it, and we'll watch for pit stops to see who gets in and what happens. I would think they would probably both stop at the same time.
That's very possible that it could come this lap, we understand, as the pit crews are readying for the second pit stop of the afternoon. You know, all of the Chevy cars had won until last week. Emerson Fittipaldi, the last of the Chevy-powered cars to visit victory lane in 1988. So it seems that his wins come in 2s. He's done that a couple of times in his IndyCar career, and so we may be seeing Emerson Fittipaldi in a very good position to win the second consecutive race here in 1988. Let's see if they make a pit stop. And neither one of them do. It looked like that Emma maybe tried to fake out.
I think Emerson was playing a little game with Danny there. He made like he was going to see if Danny was going to commit himself. So that was kind of fun to watch.
And little Al Unser, meanwhile, is coming in for a pit stop. Gary Lee will report.
Well, Bob, get out your pocket calculator because the strategy was to go on 2 stops today. It will not work for Al Unser Jr. this afternoon. There is major concern right now in the Valvoline crew that they're not going to have enough fuel to go the distance. So topping off the 40 gallons of methanol, he is underway, spins the tires out, leaves the marks. A good quick stop, but it could be a fruitless effort because it may take 3 stops to go the distance.
15-second pit stop for Al Unser Jr. as he moves back out onto the racetrack. And boy, Johnny, the head games that have to be going on here. Do you go for it, or do you just really lay back and conserve your fuel?
Well, that's the game. That's what you've got to determine. And it is exasperating because if you go for it and you lose, then the egg's all over your face. And if you don't go for it and you could have and you lose, then you've got the other side of the coin. So, you know, it's still whoever gets the luckiest, I guess. And the old saying is, I'd rather be lucky than good any day.
Well, that certainly plays a big part in auto racing. So we continue to watch now the leader Fittipaldi in second place, Danny Sullivan, to see if they indeed will be coming in for their pit stops. Second round, this time by. They're going through the area of the racetrack called Thunder Valley and now into Canada Corner. This is corner number 12 of 14. So Danny Sullivan, it looks like maybe out of fuel. He is
yes.
Oh, right there is where Rick ran. Yep.
Oh, how exasperating. He looks like he might have just enough to be able. Yes, he's carrying enough momentum. Yep. He may be able to get at least up to the top of the hill in the pits.
That's a pretty long climb, though, up to the top of the pits here. A pretty steep elevation change. Let's see if Danny Sullivan is able to make it. I don't think he is.
That is it. That is it. And of course, it'll bear watching now because Emerson has committed himself. Oh, he just got a little bit more fuel, got enough to get up. But Emerson now is on the lap that it might be a situation where he'll run out on the course farther around.
Well, Danny Sullivan came in and the engine was running, so he got just enough fuel to get the engine fired again. He comes to a stop. It's a routine pit stop for everything except the fuel situation. Now the car is stalled. They have to restart it. So in the process of refilling the tank, the engine did die out. As you know, Johnny, it's difficult to get these things fired up. It has something to do with the fuel evaporating that's in the lines, and it's real difficult to get them going once it's warm. The car has not refired yet. Now there it goes. Finally, it kicks out. Backfires 30.1 seconds for Danny Sullivan. A very devastating pit stop, and they were trying to conduct, remember, a conservative strategy, but still they lost 30 seconds to the pits and probably another minute coasting in.
Very good point, Larry. It took Sullivan exactly twice as long for his pit stop as it did Al Unser Jr., but you also got to remember that it took a long time for Danny to get into the pit area, so he suffered greatly on that incident. Here is Emerson Fittipaldi, who is getting great gas mileage, it would appear, or fuel mileage, I should say, as he now may be thinking about coming in this time, but he's still up to full speed there.
Yes, his car is not faltered. He is running very hard, still on the course. I would bet you that he's coming in this time. He almost has to. If he doesn't, they're going to check his fuel tank size. I have almost bet on it.
Off of corner number 14, this is where he'll move into the pits. Yes, indeed. Emerson Fittipaldi heads up to pit road, and Larry Newber once again will be there to describe all the action of Emo's second pit stop.
Well, Bob, the key is lap number 34. Here comes Emerson Fittipaldi again. He comes in not casually, but very carefully, much more carefully than anybody else is pitting. He is really hitting the marks using a conservative approach. Bobby Rahal is coming to the pits just to the right of Emerson Fittipaldi. You can see Emerson Fittipaldi and Bobby Rahal as the crew service them. Derek Daly is leaving the pits. Mario Andretti comes into the pits as Emerson Fittipaldi leaves. Emerson was in 19.3 seconds. And again, let me make the point. The real key here is lap 33 as you look at Bobby Rahal and Mario Andretti. If a car has pitted on lap 33 and has shown the ability in the first 2 stops to go 16 or 17 laps as Mario Andretti completes his service, then they can go the distance. If the car has gone no longer than 16 laps and they pitted before lap 34, they got to stop again. That's the key.
Boy, we are set up for what could be a very interesting afternoon.
Very interesting. Get down to the end here. We could have somebody that's been tootling around all day win this thing if somebody runs out of fuel. You know, this makes it very exciting.
It looks like that Al Unser Jr. may be playing it most conservative here among those that appear to be able to win, but we're quite a ways away from the end of this race and a lot of questions to be answered, and we'll be right back to Road America.
Jack Rooney just tuned up his car.
We're at Road America, Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin for the Briggs & Stratton 200. A great afternoon of auto racing here on ESPN. A little bit later this afternoon, our auto racing continues as we'll have barber sob action from San Antonio, Texas. And for a report on that, let's go to Bob Varsha.
Thanks, Bob. Here in San Antonio, Texas, we'll be bringing you...
Welcome back to our IndyCar show here this Sunday afternoon. We're watching the second-place battle. Bobby Rahal in car number 1, the red machine, leading Al Unser Jr. in number 3, the Valvoline-sponsored blue and white car. Second and third, right here, the leader is Emerson Fittipaldi. Let's see what Al Unser Jr. does going into corner number 1. Rahal kind of went to the inside and maybe told Al that he really didn't want him to take away that spot.
Yeah, that was another classic. I'm going to get in your way, and we'll see if you can get by. And Al Jr., though, I think has a little more muscle and proved it right there. Passing on the Goodyear straight, he went right by, and now he's going to pull away, it appears. They were having one heck of a battle like through the last 3 turns. Al was all over him, so it doesn't surprise me that he made this move and pulled out. We'll see if Rahal can try it here in turn 5. I don't think he's close enough to be able to make a charge on it.
Al Unser Jr. made a pit stop a couple of laps before everybody else. Now, Gary Lee, what can you tell us from Little Al's pit about his fuel consumption?
Well, Bob, this multi-million-dollar racing team would like to have maybe $10 extra of fuel right here. Let's take these numbers for an example. They stopped on lap 15, then lap 31. If they stop again in 16 laps, that would be lap 47. They compute about 4 gallons left in this. That would be enough for 2 laps. If they stop on lap 47, take on fuel for 2 laps, that means they're going to be a lap short. The order has been given to start short shifting. Let's conserve some fuel on the racetrack. They may not have enough to go the distance.
Well, he certainly didn't appear to be saving any fuel there just a lap ago, because he really flew by Bobby Rahal and took over that second spot. Let's take a look at our pit stop summary, the second series of stops that we've had this afternoon, and to see who did what and how everybody came out after they had completed their second series of stops. There you can see Emerson Fittipaldi on lap number 32 made a pit stop. He came into the pits first and went out in first position. And Danny Sullivan lost 3 spots. Rahal picked up 1. Al Unser Jr. also picked up 1. And Mario Andretti picked up a spot. So nobody with a whole lot of movement except for Danny Sullivan, who fell from 2nd to 5th. Emerson Fittipaldi continues to lead this 200-miler here at Road America as we have completed 36 laps now. And his advantage on second place Al Unser Jr. is 8.5 seconds. Bobby Rahal 3rd, then Mario Andretti, Danny Sullivan, Michael Andretti, Derek Daly is 7th, Teo Bobby is 8th, John Jones 9th, Randy Lewis is 10th. Howdy Holmes running 11th, Raul Boisel is 12th, followed by Tony Bettenhausen, Al Unser Jr. in 14th, rather A.J. Foyt in 14th, Rocky Moran in 15th, and Ed Pym 4 laps behind in the 16th position. Back inside the car, driven by Al Unser Jr. as he now tries to erase that 8.5 second advantage that Emerson Fittipaldi has. Well, steering wheels and steering mechanisms. Those are the subject of this week's CART ESPN Quick Fact. Here's Larry. Quick Facts are brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
Remember those huge steering wheels on Buicks and Fords in the 1950s? Well, they're gone. Used to be the same situation in Indianapolis cars, but no longer. The wheels are much smaller. Now, the new mechanisms give the drivers a lot more leverage, and that's the reason why you can reduce the size of the steering wheel. Down south, most of the Winston Cup cars you'll find will be using power steering, but that's not a good idea for Indianapolis cars. First of all, you have the weight difference, 3,500 pounds down there to 1,550 here on an Indianapolis car. Plus the fact that most of the weight on an Indianapolis car is in the back, and the driver has to have a lot more feel for the machine. so they use rack and pinion steering. Now, the ratios can vary, and if a crewman installs the wrong ratio, a driver can easily overcorrect, like happened to Pancho Carter at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Now, the release mechanism is also new. It's just the depression of a ring on the back of the steering wheel, and immediately it comes off. You know, they measure quarter horses in hands, and with the brand new steering wheels, maybe that'd be a good way of measuring these. They're only about, 8 hands around, 6 for some of the bigger guys.
That's pretty clever there. The size of the steering wheel has gone down, considerably smaller, but with the rack and pinion steering and the way they are, you don't, and plus the size of the cockpit, you don't have a whole lot of room for anything any bigger than that.
So the steering wheel and the steering mechanism working fine for Allenser Jr., but he's 7 seconds behind Emerson Fittipaldi. 38 laps completed out of 50 in the Briggs & Stratton 200 IndyCar race, and Emerson Fittipaldi leads Allenser Jr., Bobby Rahal, Mario Andretti, and Danny Sullivan. There are Emerson's finishes here at Road America. 5th. He won 2 years ago and was 18th last year.
You know, he's been doing it in twos, it seems like. So he won last week at Ohio, and of course he's leading right now, so we may see another double up.
I think you also have to consider him perhaps Cart's mutter, because 2 years ago he won in a terrific rainstorm here at Elkhart Lake, and of course last week in the rain at Mid-Ohio.
Yes, and that takes a special talent. He and Mario, probably because of their Formula One backgrounds and the racing they do in Europe and around the world and in wet weather, probably are the premier mudders, as you say.
Well, there's certainly no problem with rain this afternoon. It is and has been all weekend. Just beautiful weather here in the central part of Wisconsin, with nice cool temperatures at night and temperatures in the 70s during the afternoon hours. But Emerson Fittipaldi is indeed the leader. Now, we have a car that is perhaps in a very dangerous position. That's Rocky Moran's number 56. It is off course, but by the way, it was caused by a gearbox problem for Moran. You can see the yellow being displayed in that particular portion of the racetrack, corner number 1, but I guess it's not in such a position that it's going to require an overall full course yellow. Well, Larry Newber is down in the pit area. First of all, Larry, concerning Mario's problem, Mario Andretti still running 4th, but did make an extra pit stop for tires. And then also talk, if you will, about Emerson Fittipaldi's fuel consumption.
Okay, Bob, 2 situations you mentioned, Mario Andretti and Emerson Fittipaldi. First, Mario. There are 2 situations within that one. Carl Haas, by the way, tells me they only did make 2 pit stops. Mario was planning on coming in for a pit stop right after the last one. You see him there now. He radioed back in that he had a bad vibration. In other words, a set of tires that just wasn't set up properly. The crew's ready for him to come in. Then Mario radioed back and said, I'm going to drive through this. And Johnny can talk about that in a moment, what it means by driving through a bad set of tires. The other situation down here is, however, there are about 4 gallons of fuel remaining in their tank by our visual calculation. We don't believe that Mario can go this entire race without those 4 gallons of fuel, but only time will tell. Okay, Emerson Fittipaldi. He stopped at lap 16 and at lap 33. That means he got 17 laps out of his second tank. The race is 50 laps long, so on paper, Emerson Fittipaldi can go the distance. You ask the crew, how about it? Can you go the distance? They say, well, on paper, we can go the distance. But you know what? This is Elkhart Lake.
Yeah, you throw the paperwork out the window here.
Yeah,
fly by the seat of your pants.
That's true.
Derek Daly is being passed by Mario Andretti, but Derek in a very fine performance. He is 1 lap down, but he is in 7th position, and the first 6 cars are on the lead lap. Mario Andretti, I think you could consider him the king of the road in IndyCar racing. 74 starts, 21 wins, 26 poles, $1.6 million, and he has had 3 clean sweeps here at Road America. Last year, leading from the start to the finish in capturing this IndyCar race. But things don't look all that great for him this afternoon. He's mired back in 4th position. He is on the lead lap, but about 16.5 seconds behind Fittipaldi.
Mario has, I can remember that race that you were speaking of, and he was phenomenal. There was just no one that could even come close, and I think he won the thing by 2 laps or something like that. So it's very incredible. Emerson Fittipaldi leading, heading for the carousel.
Emerson Fittipaldi is in his 68th IndyCar race and, of course, has 5 wins to his credit, the most recent just last weekend. We'll be right back. Lee back in Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. We are 9 laps from the finish of this race. 41 have been completed, and the leader is this man, Emerson Fittipaldi. And, John, as we follow him around, we see several cars off the racetrack. Now, here's one, John Jones. I believe that's in corner number 14, but there are several that are off the course as we go around it.
Yes, that's not particularly a precarious position, but it's one that you would want to be somewhere else, obviously. And then, of course, Rocky Moran is parked down in turn 1. And up in Canada corner, we have the number 30 car of Raul Boesel that is parked right against the inside rail. They're trying to work it behind the rail or out of the way there, but that still could be a precarious position if you had somebody racing in there and they lost it.
Well, should CART determine that any car is in a real dangerous position, we would, of course, throw an overall full course yellow as Emerson Fittipaldi comes through Canada corner by Raul Boesel's car. But so far, no overall yellows, and the racing continues. But boy, Emerson Fittipaldi has things pretty much in hand right now with about a 5-second lead on Al Unser Jr. But of course, we'll mention again that fuel consumption could definitely be a problem here in these closing stages.
It really could. Get down to those last few laps. We want to really pay close attention, because we'll see in some of those right and left-handers if they stumble and stutter. And if they do, then they've got a real problem, because it's a long way around this place.
Fittipaldi still on the gas. He is not showing any form of conservatism out there.
Can't really tell at this point, Bob, whether he is short shifting and conserving, or exactly what he might be doing. He did say to us earlier that he is, with his going the extra couple of laps, that he could do it. And Danny Sullivan's in.
5th place car of Danny Sullivan comes in for a stop. The Roger Penske crew goes to work on it. This is his 3rd stop of the afternoon. Larry Nuber is right there.
Well, Bob, what they're putting in was the remaining fuel. They were only in for like 3-4 seconds, about 3.5 seconds by our calculations down here, and it was for nothing more than fuel. They were not able to get all the fuel they had left in their tank into the fuel cell in the car during their last stop. Now remember, the drivers are only given a certain amount of fuel for this race. It's not a matter of, well, you can put in as much as you want. You are limited to the amount of total fuel that you have for the race. There is a formula. It's 1.8 miles per gallon. The tanks are 40 gallons in size, and you have to get 1.8 miles per gallon, or you just won't go the distance. Emerson Fittipaldi continues to lead the race here at Road America. Fuel has always played a major role in this contest, and it's beginning to look like history will repeat itself.
Stratton 200 IndyCar race from Road America, Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. And Emerson Fittipaldi continues to hold on to the lead here. He has been our 2nd leader of the afternoon. Danny Sullivan led for the first few laps until we had some pit stops, and then Emo took over and has led ever since. Now, here is a real good battle, as Al Unser Jr. and Bobby Rahal are still hooked up in a duel, and they are definitely closing in on Emerson Fittipaldi. The interval between 1st, 2nd, and 3rd is now down to less than 4.5 seconds. So we may be seeing Emerson Fittipaldi becoming a little bit more conservative here. And we're seeing Rahal and Al Unser Jr. close in on the leader, Emerson Fittipaldi. We anticipate another pit stop by Al Unser Jr. on lap number 47. That'll be 3 laps from right now. Larry Nuber is with Steve Horn. Perhaps we can get an indication of if and when Bobby Rahal will have another stop.
The scoring sheets say you guys came in on lap 33. Can you go the distance?
Well, it's going to be very, very tight on fuel for everybody. I think very tight race for fuel, very tight race for championship. But the way we are now, we're just going to go for it, and hopefully we should make it with about 0.2 of a gallon.
Will you slow it all to go the distance?
I think with the way we are in the championships now, we're not going to slow. We're going for it.
Okay, that's Steve Horn telling us what Bobby Rahal is expecting to do. We understand that Al Jr. has lost third gear. And by the way, Bob and Johnny, one other point about Bobby Rahal. We were just kind of watching what was going on down here. I don't think that Bobby Rahal can come in for more fuel. They got everything out of the tank here in the pits into the car in their last pit stop.
So we'll see as the race winds down here. It's A.J. Foyt that has lost third gear in his car, and he is running in 11th position, so he is struggling out there to maintain that spot. But as you can see, first, second, and third are very close together now as Al Unser Jr. and Bobby Rahal stalk the leader of the race, Emerson Fittipaldi.
Now there goes Emo out of the carousel with Al and Bobby not far behind. But I'll tell you what, to close up, you're going to have to extend yourself. You're going to have to get the boost right up where it needs to be, and you're going to have to run the gears clear out, and that takes fuel. So it's coming down to a real barn burner here at the end.
It appears as if Al Unser Jr. and Bobby Rahal are closing in on Emo at the rate of about a second per lap. So, indeed, this race is far from being over. They move through corner number 14 again. Let's see if anybody will come in for a stop this time. That completes lap number 45. Everybody is staying out. We'll watch for perhaps a stop from Al Unser Jr. in 2 more laps. Here's Rahal. He has attempted and, in fact, been successful in passing a couple of times this afternoon going into turn number 1, but not this time. And there is the perspective that Al Unser Jr. has. Look at that fuel light there on the left.
Yeah, there we see under hard braking, it's staying lit a little bit longer, and it's staying solid now. Now it's flashing. We'll see if it gets it's intermittent. It's still flashing. Look, staying on, so he must be getting low. I bet he's in the next time.
This is the way it looks from outside as Rahal is right there. The car is moving through corner number 5 once again. He said lap number 47 for Al Unser Jr., but from the looks of that red light, it could be lap 46. We'll stand by and see if indeed that happens. That light is staying on, it appears, much too long for there to be very much fuel in that car.
Yeah, well, there we see it went out and on the right-hander, so I think the sensor must be mounted a little off to the one side, maybe to the right a little bit more. So anyway, he looks like he may have enough fuel with the light blinking like that. I think if it blinks at all, if it comes on solid and stays there, you'd better get to the pits quick. And it looks like it's come on solid and it's staying there. Although there we saw it blink, so I don't know exactly how they have it set, but here we have the cars out of the race. 22 Didier Thays, Roberto Guerrero, Kevin Cogan, Ludwig Hymath Jr., Raul Bossell, Ari Leyendijk out, Fulvio Bellavio, Rocky Moran, Tony Bettenhausen, Scott Atchison, and John Jones, who we saw just a little bit ago, parked in turn 14.
So attrition has been definitely a problem. Let's see if Al Unser Jr. comes in for a stop. Yes, he is, as we thought he might. He is coming in for his third stop. This will be a quick one. It'll just be a splash and go, Gary.
With maybe 4 gallons of fuel, that is it. He may not have enough in the tank to go the distance. Only time will tell.
4 more laps to go. 46 are completed. Al Unser Jr. has the full allotment of fuel now. There's no need for being conservative now. You've got to go for it. They only got about 3 gallons in the car. Will that be enough to carry him to the finish?
I think his point here is going to be to run as hard as he thinks he can in order to start catching up, and the only hope he has is that the leader runs out of fuel and that Rahal runs out of fuel, and if they do, then he's in the catbird seat.
Well, we'll know the answer to that question in a few more minutes. There are only 4 more laps to go. Emerson Fittipaldi continues to show the way. The question is, will he come in for a splash and go? He's been getting good fuel mileage throughout the race, though. In fact, better than just about everyone else. So perhaps he's thinking about stretching it to the end of the race. Still a lot of unanswered questions. This is going to go right down to the wire. Rejoin us in a moment. Road America. ESPN Speed World and Road America for IndyCar racing. We're in the closing stages of this race with Emerson Fittipaldi. showing about a 4-second advantage on Bobby Rahal. And in the next few moments, we'll be announcing the Goodyear Eagle Driver of the Race Award. And Goodyear will be giving $1,000 to Kara, the Championship Auto Racing Auxiliary, in that driver's name. We'll have the announcement for you in just a few moments. The question is, can Emerson Fittipaldi go the distance without a fuel stop? Now, he has maintained that 4-second advantage over Bobby Rahal for the last few laps. He may be conserving, but so is Bobby Rahal. Larry, what can you tell us from Emo's pit?
Well, Bob, I can tell you that by our closest calculation visually, that Emerson Fittipaldi has about 2 gallons of fuel left in the tank down here. That is not enough to go 1 lap around the 4 miles of this racetrack. Now, the question becomes, well, is Emo getting off the throttle? Is he slowing down a little bit from his pace that he could run just to finish this race? I am standing among a lot of people, and some of the people are from the other teams. I really can't tell you that, but go ahead and draw your own conclusions. I don't think a pit stop will do him any good. He's got a little bit of an advantage. What would you do if you were in the cockpit right now?
Well, with 2 laps to go, I think you got to go for it. Allenzer Jr. appeared to get off course there for a moment and be slowed down temporarily, but he's looking like he's getting up to full song once again, or is he?
Very hard to say. Can't tell at this point. I don't think he is. I think there's something wrong with Al's car.
He's fallen to 4th. Mario Andretti has moved to 3rd, so there may be indeed something wrong with his car.
Yeah, there is, and I think maybe he had a stoppage, an engine stoppage because of fuel there, and maybe he's going to try to just coast to the end.
You saw there for a moment Rick Mears, who ran out of fuel early and lost 5 laps. He has, however, gone back into 12th position now. So he is going to be among those, it appears, that finishes this race. Here comes Emerson Fittipaldi, and the next time by, he will be receiving the white flag. And Allenzer Jr. is indeed with a serious problem. Could be fuel.
That really shuffles the points.
Yep. He's going to pull the car off the race course and call it a day. So Al Unser Jr., one of those that is definitely in contention for the championship, is out of this race. Let's go to Gary Lee.
Rick Gallus, the team owner, I was told the splash and go was not that. You got no fuel in the car, correct?
I don't know about that. We got some in there, but I don't know what happened. I know we're out of fuel right now. That's all I know for sure.
The car is on the racetrack, out of fuel. They're not sure if they got all the fuel out of the tank, but certainly not enough to go the distance.
White flag is out for Emerson Fittipaldi. Okay, it's opinion time, Johnny. Is this fair that they don't give these cars enough fuel, all they need to complete a race?
Well,
if you want a celebration shot, what?
That's very hard at this point to, it's very hard to tell, because my feeling about the thing is we have rules to run by, and it's the same for everybody.
Right. Yeah.
But then again, you get situations like this to where because they don't have enough fuel to finish the race on, so on and so forth. So it becomes a real argument, a real battle as to which way it should be done. Probably we should have enough fuel to run the race on.
Emerson Fittipaldi goes through corner number 5 for the last time, but in his rearview mirror, he sees Bobby Rahal, who is only just about 2.5 or 3 seconds behind. The last lap, this is going to determine who's going to win this race. That's how close Bobby Rahal is. And among the 3 that we talked about at the opening of the show, namely Danny Sullivan, Al Unser Jr., and Bobby Rahal, those that are really battling for the CART points lead, Bobby Rahal is showing the best at this moment. Here comes Emerson Fittipaldi down the area of the racetrack called Thunder Valley, and he is looking for the checkered flag, but does he have enough fuel to go the entire distance? Here he comes down through the kink.
Well, if he stumbles at all here, Rahal's got him, and this is the part of the course where he's hard right, hard left, and it'll show up. It doesn't appear that he has a problem. His car is still accelerating off of those turns. When he goes, we'll see this on this left-hander here. Rahal is closing in. I don't think there's going to be quite enough time.
Well, let's see. Here comes Fittipaldi off of the 14th corner. There's Bobby Rahal right behind him. Emerson Fittipaldi climbs the hill looking for the checkered flag that lies just ahead. And there is the flag, and Fittipaldi wins the Briggs & Stratton 200 and records his second consecutive IndyCar victory, with Bobby Rahal finishing less than a second behind. Unofficially, it's going to be Mario Andretti finishing in third position, Danny Sullivan fourth, Michael Andretti finishes in fifth position unofficially. And our Goodyear Eagle driver of the race is Emerson Fittipaldi. So Goodyear will be sending a check for $1,000 in his name to Kara, from a very good driver to a very good cause.
That was fantastic, coming right down to the wire. Rahal gave it a college try, but it just wasn't quite enough to catch him. And Emerson obviously had it all going his way. He had enough fuel to make the car perform to the end, and that's what it's all about.
So in 1986, Emerson Fittipaldi won at Road America. In 1988, he duplicates that feat. There's the hand in the air receiving the congratulations from the corner workers. Emerson Fittipaldi records his sixth IndyCar victory during his career, his second consecutive. So he'll be coming around to victory lane, and that's where we will catch up with him in just a moment. Fittipaldi wins at Road America. Back in a moment. Here are the top 10 finishers in the Briggs & Stratton 200 IndyCar race. Emerson Fittipaldi wins by less than a second over Bobby Rahal. Mario Andretti was third, Danny Sullivan fourth, and Michael Andretti was in fifth. Finishing a lap down in sixth position was Derek Daly. Al Unser Jr. ran out of fuel in the closing laps and dropped to seventh. The Porsche of Teo Fabi finishes eighth. A.J. Foyt finishes in ninth position, and Howdy Holmes is in 10th. So the victory celebration is beginning down in victory lane as Emerson Fittipaldi has, or is just about to arrive at that location. He's already out of the car, as you can see, and the car is being backed into victory lane, which is right across from our broadcast position. Now, Emerson Fittipaldi is still in the car. That's one of his crew members on this side of it. But as we indicated, the wins seem to come in twos for Emo, and he has done it again.
He did a marvelous job today. The team, I think it was a team effort, and Emo did the job on the track. The team had had everything going for him in the pits.
Young son.
Yeah, his son. That's very, very elated.
So Emerson Fittipaldi, you're right, Johnny. More than any other race, really, that we have seen, the crew very important in the fuel consumption story. Let's go to Larry in victory lane.
Well, as is always the case, pandemonium in victory lane. People representing the sponsor, the crew, the family.
Emerson.
Lolita. Emmo has now moved up to fourth in points, we understand, unofficially. The people who are closest to him, obviously, they get the very first spoils of victory. A very happy Emerson Fittipaldi. Remember when he began this year, Emmo was very confident. He felt that he was a real candidate to be champion this year. Emmo was a long time in coming, picking up the velocity, but you guys got things going now.
You know, Larry, I'm very pleased. My Marlboro car was running perfectly the whole race. Was a great dive with Danny. And, you know, just the last 2 or 3 laps, I back off for the fuel. And, you know, the pits work was perfect. The team did incredible work. I'm very pleased again.
You know, you've been around these racing wars a long time, twice a world champion in the 1970s. It's really funny how luck goes. Once things start going well for you, the luck just tumbles down on top of you, doesn't it?
No, you know, that's racing, and I think we're in a good move now, and I hope we keep going this motion to the end of the season.
Well, there are a couple more road courses coming up. That's obviously his specialty, but this guy's also done well on the ovals, too, so he could still be well heard from in that points quest in 1988.
Our Winner's Circle interview has been brought to you by Goodyear Eagle Tires. Goodyear, because there really is a difference. And we'll all be back at Road America to wrap up our IndyCar race this afternoon, won by Emo. Well, victory lane is all red. Emerson Fittipaldi, the winner, on the right, and Bobby Rahal, second place finisher, on the left. Now the points. Unofficially, Danny Sullivan with a 5-point advantage on Bobby Rahal. Then Al Unser Jr., Emerson Fittipaldi, and Mario Andretti. Emo moves from 7th to 4th in the point standings. Well, our Briggs & Stratton 200 here at Elkhart Lake has been brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil. The big Q stands for quality, always has, always will. By Briggs & Stratton, proud sponsor of the 1988 U.S. Olympic team. By Monroe Shock Absorbers for shocks and struts. America rides Monroe. And by Champion Premium Air and Oil Filters, the filter line with the highest standards in the world. Next week, we'll be in Dover, Delaware for NASCAR racing. We hope you'll join us. For now, for Larry Nuber and Gary Lee and Johnny Rutherford, this is Bob Jenkins. So long, everyone.